The sounds of the fury of getting one's shit together. Huh, Heather? Mm-mm-mm.
You know,
We're
you
really
know.
in it. We're
Yeah.
and again, I know we're at the end of Virgo, and again, we've talked. I think we talked about this, if not the last episode, the episode before. But
Mm-hmm.
the way the astrological calendar is just unfolding, I just, I've never felt more in the Virgo energy until like it just feels like we're really peaking, and we're in a Virgo new moon that comes at the end of Virgo season, just like
Yeah.
all these new moons of the sun sign we're in come at the end of that sun sign, and it's like we're just getting this jolt and that pop of the peaks just feel like they're coming at the ends of these seasons. Because oh boy, was I feeling that Pisces full moon there for a moment, huh, Heather?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel you. And Molly McCord said that this Virgo
God bless
season
her.
is gonna really feel like it starts with the Virgo new moon, even though there's
Ah,
only a week left of Virgo after that.
mm,
Um, Also because I think tomorrow Mercury goes direct, it stops retrograding.
mm.
And yeah, oh my God. I've been trying so hard to like get my shit together and take care of Virgo business, but it has been such an uphill climb. Like I tried to return my Rent the Runway stuff and like I
Mm.
paused my subscription, but when I tried to like figure out where the post office is that I usually go to, my Maps app like wasn't showing that address. So I went to a different address and I handed it to someone who didn't seem like they knew what they were doing, and like the
Oh
post office
no.
was like a weird like hybrid like Hallmark store slash post office or something, and I was like, what even is this? And then like the next day the Rent the Runway bag arrives back at my door and I see that the postage had my address on it, and I'm like, how the fuck did this happen?
You sent it to yourself,
I
Heather.
got rear-ended and I've been trying to call the
Oh,
person's
that's
insurance
right.
company for days, but I keep getting like a machine or it's like, sorry, we're busy. We're going to call you back. Like, give us your
It's
number. And then
awful.
they never
Calling
call me
insurance
back.
is it's such a
And
pain in the ass.
it's just
It's
been like, oh, I have not been able to like follow through with the shit that I'm trying to follow through with. I like tried to make a DMV appointment and they're like, actually, we need one more form. And it's just like,
Heather.
but
I
it's all
do
good.
think that's could be messaging from the universe. No, like
Mm,
I mean, I was right in the trenches, as you know. This past weekend, getting home was a nightmare. What was
right.
supposed to be a literal 2.5 hour flight, I shit you not, 2.5 hour flight from Kansas City to JFK was ended up being a 78 hour bullshit extravaganza, like just a
So
traveling nightmare. And
horrible.
you reminded
Yeah.
me of where the stars were.
Hmm.
And it does just seem like communication's been a little like a lot of things that could like little details, little like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it Virgo's all about like the smaller
The little
details of things,
details.
right?
Mhm.
And life and the universe, honestly, like it felt like I didn't have a choice. I was really forced to pause. I was forced to pause in a way that, I don't always love, but I think was kind of like, all right, my hands are up. I surrender. I don't really have a choice. And there were some smaller details that got refined in a lot of
Yeah.
that. And so, as annoying as a lot of this shit was for you to experience, and thank God you're safe with the rear ending. And it just isn't it a
Oh.
nightmare to have to go through a car accident and then
And then you have to deal with
afterwards
all
you got
this
to deal with the
bullshit.
yeah. I got rear-ended in LA, the exact same bullshit. But I find it so interesting that a lot of these dad responsibilities you're ironing out, even though it's still, it's annoying, but it's like, isn't that the most dad and Virgo energy you've ever experienced in a way?
Ever.
Like
Yeah.
these little tiny bullshit details that just like someone's got to do it. And it's a
Totally.
part of the adult energy and experience. But I also think there's something so Virgo and like, you're going to be we have to stop and pay attention to those tiny details that we don't really have a choice. That's just how I took a lot of my annoying experiences. And with that,
Right.
you're
Right.
handling it much more gracefully than I did.
Well, if
I
I were
hear
in
you.
your
Yeah.
situation, that is such a nightmare. Like unbelievable. I'm
I've
just
never
like,
experienced something so chaotic and
yeah.
unserious in my life. Oh my God. But
Uh
anyways, no, I mean, you got into an accident. I'm so happy you're okay.
oh yeah.
And But again, of course, it's like because it's a nuisance nonetheless, and it's still something you got
Right.
to deal
That's
with. I
the
totally
thing.
hear
I'm
you.
just like over it, but
Ah,
it's
that
fine.
feels
Life
so
could be so
Virgo to
much
me.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
that
also
is,
started
yeah.
flossing this Virgo
Oh,
season.
hell yeah, Heather. Hell yeah. I mean, my God.
Ah.
I can't remember like the amount of times my dad has like a, cares about health and the little details that make you live longer. And the amount of times he'd be like, careful with, opening metal cans. You don't want the shavings to get into your food.
Right.
You
That's good
really,
advice.
like stuff, don't drink coffee on a empty stomach. You'll get an ulcer or whatever. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you smoke cigarettes. He's quit. Shouts out to Drew. Quit cold turkey, never looked back. But I just remember always being a
Oh,
kid
that's
like,
hard.
oh, shut up. Like, of course, your Virgo ass is caught up with the little details of health. Meanwhile,
Right, right. Oh my God.
I'm
I'm
just
really excited to talk about the celebrity that I'm gonna cover because it is
mm-hmm.
such a like obsessed with the Virgo with everyone else, but not, taking care of themselves. And especially when it comes to body and health stuff, which is
Oh
such
my
a
God, you're
Virgo
so
theme.
right. Yeah, yeah, that's
Um,
right. And yeah. Listeners, I hope you're feeling the reset, whether that be a jerky, bullshitty, mundane, detailed way of things right now, or whether that be some bigger picture life things. It's kind of a hunker down and get thou shit together time. Which sometimes
mhm.
can look rough. It can look rough. And God, the little bullshit mundane things of life, they really are so necessary, and I
I
hate them.
hate it all. I do. I hate it, but no, it's true. It is. It's good. It's important.
It is. And it's a good time to it's yeah. This energy it's like, am I wrong to call it masculine, Heather? Is that Capricorn?
No,
We
I
joke
feel
about
like,
Capricorn being a masculine. Am I mixing those up?
well, it's interesting because Virgo's like the virgin. It's
Oh, that's
glyph
right.
is a literal woman,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there is, I mean, just personally, I think there is like a masculine sort of energy to it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
All Earth almost carries what feels like more a more masculine energy. I don't know if I'm wrong to say that,
Yeah,
but
there's something about, yeah, like
not to say
society, the earthy material things you have to take care of that feels more masculine. Yeah.
it's interesting. And I think the feminine energy has more of like a reputation for like being in quote unquote flow. And I think a lot of that understanding is there isn't a rigidness. There really it's a flow, it's a feeling, it's a vibe, right? Whereas Earth, I think, is more like the fuck you talking about.
Right, right.
And there's a clear
There's
box,
facts. There's,
there's a
yeah.
clear boundary drawn, and you simply stay in that line. What are we
Uh-huh.
talking about? And I'm not saying one or the other is right. It's just in my experience too, like we define that energy as more masculine when it does have more of like a routine. Rigidness is the wrong word, but more of a structure.
Yeah.
Because like even with like when you talk about uh like the universal, I'm going to totally butcher the way I'm explaining this, but spirituality sort of talks about how the feminine energy is on a cycle that's more of like 28 days, right? Like our periods, like the
Right.
moon. And that's also, there's a science to that, right? I think we've talked about this on the podcast before as well, but it talks about how like more babies are born during a full moon because of the literal gravitational pull
Uh-huh.
can cause a woman's water to break. So
Crazy.
more births, especially if you're like, ready to pop. There's a chance the full moon will like literally cause that, which is really
Wow.
interesting. Like, so you
Yeah.
can't say that women aren't literally connected, that there's a feminine energy to the moon, for example, and
Totally,
just like the
totally.
way we have periods, and it's
Yeah.
like a 28-day cycle similar
Mm-hmm.
to a moon cycle. That's just
Right.
very
It's
fascinating to me.
crazy.
Really
Totally.
fascinating.
Totally.
So like, spiritually there's there's like a whole more phrase for that. I'm totally not articulating it correctly. I do apologize. I'll get my facts better next time. But as I understand it, in the spiritual realm, that's more considered the feminine energy, and that's why there whereas
Right.
like the 24-hour clock and the way the sun, the sun's routine
Oh,
is considered more um
masculine.
masculine. And even women are now like, we're learning more about periods and what happens to our hormones and to our bodies. And just because there's a week of your period doesn't mean your hormones aren't doing different things at different times throughout those other weeks. And that's like why, like, cycle tracking, I think is what it's called, is something I've like am a very, very big beginner at. To me, it could not get more sort of like spiritual and astrological, though. It's really fascinating. And that's the whole point, is that women don't necessarily operate well and perform well in a 24-hour cycle. Every single day could look differently to us because your hormones are doing something a little different every week.
Right,
And again,
right.
which feels like that's like the moon's going through phases a little bit every day. There's something new with the sky that completely changes the energy. I find the whole idea of astrology as a bigger, more feminine energy in the world in which I understand it and know it. There's something really beautiful about that. Not to shit on Earth at all. I'm just also a
Right.
Pisces. So naturally, I'm
Yeah.
more inclined to be like, that's the vibe for
Right,
me.
right, right. No, same. Yeah,
But
totally.
that masculine energy is also very necessary.
It
And it's
is. It's
also
very
very important
necessary.
to the overall puzzle.
For
And
sure, for
it's
sure.
a beautiful thing as well in its own right. So that's, again, reiterate, I think, more what I mean when I'm saying, when I kind of define Earth as more of a masculine sort of
No,
energy.
totally, totally. Yeah, and literally in astrology, the sun represents like the influence from your father, they say, or the
Ah, that's
person who
right.
played more of like a paternal role in your family. And it
That's
is a more
right.
masculine energy, and the moon
Interesting.
is the mother and your more feminine energy. So yeah, there's
Interesting.
truth to that. I love that you said that. Um,
Wow. Thank you for reminding me of that, Heather.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I feel like you hit it right on the head. You know what's interesting is that moving into Libra next,
Mm-hmm.
I constantly hear, because like astrologers do break up the signs, and I should look up what they consider Virgo, but like Libra, you would think is a feminine sign according to
Mm,
astrology, but it's not actually. It's masculine,
mm.
which, you know, it's Venus ruled. I think that Libra, when you think Libra, you think of like Alex Nightingale, you know, posing in a picture with her a daisy in her hand, or like, yeah, that's what I think. But then, you know, then there also is the Libra thing of like, they do have like a fieriness. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this, but
Well, I think there's something to, again, not rigid is such the wrong word. I'm not trying to say that, but there's, Libra being all about balance and
mm-hmm,
being all about sort of like, to me,
this or
that's,
that.
or sort of like, oh, we can play, but we must work. Whereas, like, I could just play and
Right,
then play some
right,
more. I could
right.
just,
I could just make a
to me,
mess.
I'm like, what? We made that up. Work doesn't make you better or stronger. Literally,
Yeah.
life's short. Let's play. Like, I don't know. It is just, so to me, Libra kind of doesn't, it's not that it doesn't have flow, but again, because it's such a pillar of literal balance,
Yeah. That's a
I
good way to
think
put
that
it.
there almost is a boundary aspect to it in a similar way that there is Earth.
Yeah.
And you would think too, like, air is, but air, as we know, I think can also not always be flowy. It kind
Uh-huh.
of depends, and air is always squished between. I love air too because it's always squished between literal earth and water,
Oh
which,
yeah.
like, it just feels like that is perfect for where air, like, just nests.
Mhm.
Um, wait, isn't that true for, yeah, no, and then
Yeah, yeah.
fire signs are between earth and
Um,
water and earth, I mean.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, it just, like, the way air nests in the middle of those elements. I do
Mhm.
think there's such I think it can depend if you're an air sign that's more on the watery end or with water undertones, absolutely. But I think air does a good job of sort of, all air signs can find that balance almost. And look what they're wedged between. It's kind of interesting to think of it that way, that there's a two sides to air. You could tap more into your water or tap more into your earth. Um,
Right,
which I
right.
think water and earth are just more of like they are them, or they're tapping into fire. So it's really just sort of like they're them or they're tapping into fire.
Yeah.
So they're just more of them. But air has
Yeah.
like an ability. That's how I visualize it. I don't know if that makes any goddamn
No,
sense.
it totally does. It totally does. I've never really thought about it this way,
But
thinking
yeah,
about like how the elements feed off each other based on the order. That's really
I've
cool.
thought more and more about that just from studying this more and finding
Yeah.
out, like you explaining to me, like how there's a cycle to these and how now I like can visualize the element pattern. That's honestly what helps me figure out what signs next is, because I just cycle like, okay, well, we
Yeah.
just had a earth, so what would be the next air, or
Yeah.
yada
Yeah.
yada.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of that and the way you've explained so much to me that my brain now kind of can't help at this level
But think about it
naturally.
cyclically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that all comes from your teachings, Heather.
I mean,
You're
I'm
you're such
I'm
a
a
teacher.
learner first, but uh but yeah, I how do you feel about the going from Virgo to Libra thing? It's interesting. Like I feel like each sign, its energies are supposed to build onto the next, and Virgo is all about like perfecting and cleaning up and editing and fixing, and I guess nourishing the mind body spirit connection. That's the
Mm,
part that I think bleeds into Libra a little bit more. It's like
yeah.
once you center yourself,
Once
like
you're balanced, now we can.
balance.
Yeah. Once we're stable, we can become more stable.
Right.
No, but well, it's interesting too, Heather. Again, because I know the first Virgo episode we did talked a lot about Drew, and boy, did he hate that more than I did. But then my mom is a Libra.
Right, right.
And so those two signs being next to each other is really fascinating to me. My mom, I also got reminded because I spent time with her side of the family this past weekend, is surrounded by Virgo men.
Right.
Her brothers are all Virgos, and then she married my dad, who's a Virgo. It's just really interesting. But she definitely, my mom is, don't get me wrong, as feminine as it gets, but her work ethic and sort of her, I've also always known her as a mother. She almost does, like, that's also why, of course, yes, I think of like Alex Nightingale when I think of Libra and the
Mhm.
feminine energy and the way my mom encompasses that too. But my mom also has masculine like energy to her about like getting shit done. And she was always someone who had to make a living for herself, could never rely on anyone. So she was always a very independent, and she's also the older sibling, like Alex is. The two like
Yes.
closest Libras in
Uh-huh.
my life also happen to be older siblings, which is interesting.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so it's interesting that those two sort of go together, because my parents they're different in a lot of ways, but they're also alike in a lot of their just like common sense way of thinking, like their ethics, their the way they both work.
Mhm.
And they
Mhm.
both do very different jobs, but like, yeah, it's interesting. So again, it's tricky for me. What do you think though about it in terms of Libra being sort of the runner up after our Virgo energy?
Yeah, well, as you were saying that, I was thinking that Virgos and Libras both take their relationships seriously and like feel,
Yeah.
I think, a duty to their responsibilities in that way, but like
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to people in their lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do think there's something to be said of you can't really like achieve balance, especially in that airy way, until you feel like centered in your body in a more
Mm-hmm.
Virgo earthy way.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's
It's the
I
classic like oxygen mask first.
on yourself first, yeah.
And I think Libra almost it's a good thing that Virgo, I think Libra can be a. Well, it's interesting that you said that too about like the health. Virgo can like point a finger in the way and then sort of like point it at itself last, so to speak, be the
Right,
first one to
right.
know everything about self health and how to get it without maybe always doing those actions. Libra, I think, is genuinely sometimes not caring about themselves in order
Yeah.
to care for others. And again,
Yeah.
my mom is a Libra, so there's a little bit of a bias there. But I feel
No,
like I
you're
do
right.
see that in Libras where like that's the seriousness that their relationships comes from. They take on your problems as their problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can't rest until everyone's rested. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like it's like a reverse, whereas Virgo's like, I can't help the other. You're right. Like I can sit here and try to help the other all day, but until Virgo like understands like the self-help first, the oxygen
Yeah.
mask, where I think Libra needs reminding in that energy.
Totally.
Does that make
Totally.
sense? I don't know
Absolutely.
if
No,
I contradicted
absolutely.
myself, but
No,
yeah.
no, 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 no. I totally agree. And yeah, and a lot of astrologers say that you can break up the signs in terms of like the first four are personal signs, the middle
Mhm.
four are relationship signs, the last four are universal or transpersonal signs. And then but some astrologers are just like the first six signs are personal and the last six are other.
Mm.
Um and when you look at it that way, it's interesting. That kind of puts Virgo as like the last energy of taking care of yourself before you're ready to like, but if you don't do that adequately, you'll be like the bitter, immature expression of Libra. That's very, you
Resentful.
yeah. And
Mm. Because
that
Libra's like, I literally carry us.
I
And
know. And
everyone
I'm
else is
like,
like,
I
Libra, we
didn't
told y'all.
ask
We told y'all to put us down. You're going to get burnout.
for this. Literally.
That's fascinating.
But
No, both of those signs together are very interesting. And you're right. When you look at it that way, Virgo's the last of the personal, whereas Libra's the first of the other. And it's like they both probably cross over into
right.
that. They share a board, again,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I think astrology, I know that the sun sign is very specific on the degrees it comes in, right? But when you look at the overall bigger picture of astrology, it's
Mm-hmm.
not masculine in the way that there's things that bleed into other things,
Totally,
right?
totally.
Otherwise, there just wouldn't be layers to it. No
Yeah,
offense to
no.
the masculine energy, but to me, it's like,
It's very
well, sure,
nuanced.
all that's gonna read if you forget X, Y, and Z of all, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I think just like anything, it's probably not a definite cutoff. That energy kind of bleeds into itself when you look at it as I love looking at it that way too, Heather. The first six and the last six.
Yeah, it's
That's really
interesting. It's
interesting.
interesting. And
Libra and Virgo being
yeah.
that part, but
And
probably also sharing a lot of similarities, which like I feel like I'm sure if you look at it that way, Aries and Pisces, there's a reason they're lined up as well too. And the way that
mm-hmm.
Pisces is sort of the end, and then we go into Aries, and the way it's the first,
Yeah.
it's really fascinating.
And to think about the rest of the year and how we're kind of moving into like big holiday season where
Into
it
the
is
other
more about others. Yeah, it
mm-hmm.
is more about being social and
community, getting to yeah.
exactly. Um
Ah, what a fun way to look at it. I don't know. I'm sure you've probably said that to me before, and I just maybe forgot, or maybe you've never told me that, but that's a really fascinating way to look at it. Not that I still don't like looking at like the personal, and then God, what's the middle? I always
yeah,
forget.
the relationship or interpersonal and then the universal or
Personal,
transpersonal.
interpersonal, yes, transpersonal. I'm sure I just like the half one because it's easier for me to remember.
Totally. No, totally. I think
I'm
it's
like,
it's
no, that
fun.
theory's better.
Yeah, I'm always hyper aware of it moving from Virgo to Libra. I think it's
Yeah,
an interesting
you
transition. And
really see that shift, but also in the ways in which they're like, it's really fascinating. Yeah.
yeah, in my life and with the people around me, I do feel like there's an energy of like, all right, we finally got our shit together.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have fun. Like, or
Yeah.
let's make plans to like
Holidays
connect
are
with
here,
people.
bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, what a way to
lovely.
look at it. This has been a lot of work this year.
Oh my God. I know. I know. But
I need to shut up.
I do feel like we're making progress. We are. We are.
Slowly but surely, baby. And that's the
Yeah.
Virgo way. It feels like just step by step.
Step by
The
step.
day by day consistencies are is just what's going to make those bigger changes.
Mm-hmm.
Until we hit that Capricorn again and start brand new resolutions, right? God, it all moves so fast when you're doing a weekly podcast.
It really, really fucking does. Oh
We're moving.
my
We are
God.
moving. Yeah. And this is our year show, Heather. This is our 52nd episode. It's been officially 52 weeks, which equals a year of doing this podcast. We're celebrating in the Virgo energy, and we've got so many, and I know we on a personal level have so many exciting new things we want to bring and do for this podcast. Listeners, if you're just tuning in, or if you've been here since week 1, just thank you so much for being on this ride with us. We're excited, right, for what we have in store. It's gonna be, we've got our Virgo shit together, baby, and we're about to reap those Libra benefits.
Hell yeah.
I love this. The abundance is abundating.
It is. It is.
The abundance is
abundating.
infinite. We are abundating, bitch. Heather, my astrology guide, light, love, and everything. Yeah, Miranda here, your little astrology questionnaire. Just so many questions. The questions will never stop. This podcast will never end. We will never die. Okay.
I love the term questionnaire.
Questionnaire.
It makes me think of like an Imagineer from Disney World. Or
that's me, bitch, on this astrology ride, bitch. Buckle up, kids.
Yeah.
Bitch. Heather, shall we move into these last Virgos?
Let's.
Before our big Libra season is upon us. We got some fun ones today.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Some juicy V's. Juicy V's.
Juicy V.
Some big virgin Virgos for us today. Amazing.
Juicy V's. Oh my God.
Coming at you live with the Juicy V's.
Your dad's gonna like that.
He's definitely already shut this off. Juicy V's, Heather. Oops, I meant to ask you this before we started recording, but do you want to just go ahead and do mine first?
Yeah.
Only because I feel
Let's
like we're going to have quite a bit to say on yours. Not that we don't have a lot to say on this one, but it's kind of endless with yours.
Yeah, no, for real.
We'll hop to it. Our first Juicy V of the episode, folks. None other than John Mulaney. Oh, there's just not enough neckties and suits in the world to cover up his mess. Just kidding. But wow. What a listen.
What a guy.
What a guy. What a guy. I say that wholeheartedly. I've never seen someone sort of like fall from everyone's graces and everyone be so like pissed off at them, rise back into the ranks of everyone's hearts so quickly in a way that people are like, but he's so funny and charming and charismatic and handsome. Like in a way that people just like forgot they were upset, it feels like. And I kind of like not that he did anything wrong. And oh God, I'm just talking all over in circles.
No.
John Mulaney, for the listeners who need a recap, beloved comedian, right? Still is beloved comedian, does the suits, wears the ties, talks very like this, and has a whole kind of thing, right? And so it's really shocking that this guy in suits and neckties, who also delivers every line like this.
He makes so much jokes about everyone thinking he's gay, right? Like,
is that his thing? It might be.
I think he used
I'll
to.
be honest, it's been a while since I've seen one of his specials, but
yeah. Anyway, it just he gives this like wholesome, harmless energy,
right?
And then lately,
right, and then he and then this isn't to knock anyone, but I didn't even know he had an issue with sobriety until it was like John Mulaney back in rehab, I think during 2020, which I think it was 2020, which he wasn't the only one. There were like a lot of celebrities that it was like making headlines, and I remember being like, this is so shitty. Like 2020 is already like a hard year for most, and then like especially people battling sobriety, and then these fucking celebrities, like not only are they battling their issues with sobriety, they got to fucking like, you assholes are reporting on it, and it's headline news, which it shouldn't be. We're in the middle of a fucking pandemic. And like abuse in the homes went up. What's that called? Domestic violence went up. I'm not laughing at domestic violence. I apologize. I'm laughing at abuse in the home. I'm like, what the fuck's the phrase? Domestic violence went up, like sobriety, people struggling with sobriety. That became an issue for everyone. I genuinely felt like bad for fucking celebrities who also had to deal with PAPs, like,
oh my God, yeah.
reporting on this shit too. With that being said, I just don't think I knew that about John Mulaney at all until it was like back in rehab. Which again, I think he talked about it in specials. It just proves how much I wasn't paying attention. But then it was like John Mulaney there for a minute just couldn't catch a break. It was like back in rehab, and then it was like getting divorced from long-term wife, and then it was like with that what's her face? Yes. And then all those Olivia Munn tweets were like resurfacing of like she's been plotting this for years, and like she talked about in an interview once that she like tried to dance with him at someone's wedding and he's like said no, and
funny.
And people were like, that's because he was fucking married, you bitch. And like, yeah, so like, and all this drama with like just like, oh, she got called every name in the book, not cool either. It was just like a public fiasco. And then they got pregnant.
Yeah.
And now they just have a baby.
Uh-huh.
And they just post about each other on Instagram. And he just put out a new special. And like just sort of got to joke about, so a lot's changed since the last time I've been on a stage. And like, yeah, it's wild. The watching, I mean, only a Virgo is my whole point to this, Heather.
Yeah.
And with that, I wanted to also add, we don't have his rising, unfortunately, but we do know that John Mulaney is a Virgo sun, Sag moon. Now I'm going to go ahead and say those two and check out.
Just like Katherine Heigl and Nicki Minaj. And there's a lot of celebrities with that combo. My mom had a whole conversation with me about it once, about how that's like a dynamite combo. Because it's like, I think that, and our next celebrity is also a Virgo sun with a fire moon. I think that together is like, I don't know. You're like a perfectionist and you take your work very seriously, but you're also reactive and passionate. And it can be like, I don't know, in Katherine Heigl's case, like a little bit menacing to work with, or maybe in John Mulaney's case, a little bit like, yeah, you're repressing the fire until it all, I don't know.
Well, like John Mulaney to me is such a perfect symbol of everything that happened in the way that he exactly is like this wholesome comedian, beloved by men and women, not just like a guy's guy comedian, not just like a club comic, but like a household. People love John Mulaney. Then he played the voice in the Spider-Verse. He plays the voice of one of the Spider Pig.
That's funny.
Peter Porker. Sorry. God, that's good. Anyway, and you know, it's John fucking Mulaney. And then again, symbolically, he has this very clean-cut looking persona.
Right.
The suit, the tie, the voice, I'm a comedian and I'm great. Just the very like approachable dude. And they're almost like, to me, that no wonder that was such a combustion of what happened. And it was so shocking to so many people because exactly, it's like, it's a character, right? A lot of times these comedians are characters of themselves. And I think a lot of people think when John Mulaney is on stage, that's him. And it's like, absolutely not. It's a persona. Most comedians have one, even if it's still them they're playing. It's a character of you. Sure. You never fucking know someone. And I think comedians are extra shocking when drama comes out because it's like, they made me laugh and feel good things. And it was their words and their writing and their performance that did that. And it's a relatable thing, comedy. That's the way you usually get laughs is joking with someone about something relatable. And then there's a connection there. Right. So we get it. But then in that very like caring what people think and making sure I come across squeaky clean way, you've got this passionate, fiery ass
underbelly. Yeah.
Underbelly. it was like a combustion we all witnessed. Truly, it really was. And that makes sense. And yes, I think the Virgo sun could only restrain things for so long, and I'm sure COVID played a huge fact in that because eyes weren't directly on him for a while.
Yeah.
So his like fiery moon got to rear its suppressed head, essentially. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Repressed.
Totally. And in his chart, there's the Virgo sun forms a square to the Sag moon, which is a 90-degree angle. It's a red line in the chart, and that's always like friction, like your two energies not getting along. So
at war with yourself, maybe, eh, John?
Yeah. So not only, you know, when you think Virgo and you think Sag, those energies aren't very alike, but there is like a literal tension aspect in the chart.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the Venus and Leo might have a flair for partying and fun, and Moon and Sag takes everything way too far and doesn't know when to quit sometimes. And Mars and Scorpio is a passionate signature there. Yeah, it's interesting. I wish I knew his rising. I would not be surprised if it were Pisces or water.
I was just gonna say, mixed with escapism.
Right.
It's giving escapism a little bit.
It's giving escapism.
Well, it's got to be escapism. You make that much money getting to do that as a career, and not that he blew it by any means, but I just mean like clearly it's escapism, because to me that is such a already your life feels like play. There's a lot to it though about showbiz and being a comedian that's very serious, of course. I'm not trying to downplay anything, and Hollywood we know is a bitch, but it does feel like sometimes comedians get to be exempt from that a lot. John Mulaney, though, is also young and hot, so, and very famous. So it's like, I think a lot is still like, there's probably still a lot of, you know, exactly a lot what sign can't deal with that shit the most. I feel like Pisces or water definitely checks out to me for the rising.
I think so.
Which would make the combustion all make a lot more sense in the escapism and in general from,
Yeah. And Moon conjunct Uranus, that's a tough combo.
What do you mean,
Uranus is like sudden breakthroughs and change, and it's like the energy of like combustion in a way. It's like you know, lightning. It could be like lightning bolt inspiration, or it could be like lightning bolt like you need sudden drastic change to like send you into the next thing. And when it's like tightly connected to a personal planet like that, especially the moon, which is one of the most important, then I'm not gonna be surprised if in 7 years from now he's like I hope not, but like something happens where he's like done with Olivia and on to a completely different thing. And I don't know, it's that kind of energy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, yeah. I do enjoy John Mulaney. That was all quite a shit show. But I also, you know, it's never fair when you're in the public eye like that. I'm sure there's details I'm missing as well, but I remember the whole thing just being, and still is kind of like, well, look at that.
Look at that. I kind of feel like it makes him a little bit more, in a weird way, likable to me. Like a little bit.
Honestly, I was going to say he's only become hotter to me.
I saw that the comedy special at the Hollywood Bowl last summer. I saw it live where he was talking about it all, and it was on Mother's Day, and he was like, I'd like to wish my, you know, baby mama happy Mother's Day, and he was talking all about. So I saw that live, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, you're kind of like hotter, and also like I love how real this is.
Yeah.
It's very Scorpio Mars. Very.
I was going to say the same thing. I'm like, only he could honestly make this whole situation sort of weirdly work in his favor.
Yeah.
Because I do agree. Somehow I'm like, I don't even know if I was attracted to John Mulaney before. Is that fucked up? No, yeah, like before I respected his comedy.
Right. But yeah, so many Virgo celebrities also, I just want to say, and earth sign celebrities like
combust.
Well, no, but there's just so many Virgo celebrities in general. I was gonna say, like, there's, you know, Louis C.K., Adam Sandler, no, there's a ton more. Seth, what's his name, is a Capricorn. There's just
Myers,
Seth Meyers, yeah.
Rogan.
I don't know what Seth Rogen is. Maybe a Virgo.
It makes sense that, yeah. That's interesting. That is interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of earth and a lot of water. A lot of earth and like Scorpio and Pisces, I feel like. And then some Gemini and Sag. But yeah.
John, come on the pod. Explain yourself.
Yeah. I'd love to chat you up.
We'd love to hit on you. I mean, chat with you. And with that, Heather, shall we move on to our next juicy V of the episode? Honestly, the juiciest it gets is this one, huh? Really saving the best for last.
Yeah, don't want to hit on this one, unfortunately. The one and only, I am obsessed with her TV show. I have a lot to say. Abby Lee Miller. It doesn't get more Virgo than Abby fucking Lee Miller. Yeah, you know her as the coach on Dance Moms. If you are interested in seeing the arc of a person and the rise and fall of fame and how it can destroy you, I highly recommend watching all of Dance Moms, because the most interesting part of that show to me is the arc of Abby Lee Miller. She starts off and it's clear that she's very happy that it's her show. Even though it's called Dance Moms, she knows that the show is about her, that she's the face of it, that if it wasn't for her, there would be no show. And she is a tough ass coach. Like, even before there were cameras, like the girls talk about how she was like, quote unquote, the best because she's tough in her Virgo hard ass way. Like, that, not to say that all Virgos are tough, but she's a perfectionist. She expects the best. She likes to win. She takes it all very, very seriously. And she knows her craft. And she has a Leo moon, which I think is why she got a little, excited about the fame, and Scorpio rising. And yeah, the show is just, it's crazy because like you see her head get bigger and bigger as it goes on, and as the show becomes more successful and as Maddie becomes more successful. And then you see her get kind of bitter when Maddie like goes on to Sia, like to work with Sia. And then she's like, oh, well, I'm going to move to Hollywood and I'm going to have my own like studio in Hollywood and it's going to be a huge thing. But then you see her crumble as soon as she gets to Hollywood and she's having breakdowns and she's not showing up to set. And suddenly she's like worried that she doesn't look Hollywood enough. And she's all like doing her hair in new ways and like all insecure around the Hollywood people. And you see her like start to crack and break. And then she gets diagnosed with cancer and she has all these lawsuits against her for tax evasion, and she like has to stop the show for a few seasons, and suddenly she's in a wheelchair, and like it is crazy. It's like you watch someone get like so fame hungry and fucking insane, and then it all just like unravel. And and I think I think that there was like the fact that she was just so fucking mean to the girls, I think is like a big part of, in Virgos, the health, things manifest in the body, and through health it has that energy. And I think it's really interesting knowing that she's a Virgo, and she just like, you can tell she has a heart, and she like does show love to the kids in moments, but then she's just so fucking mean, and it's like she needs to be in an authority or something, and like she has this complex around being respected. And I think that's why it all took a bad turn. She couldn't.
Is that, you said she's a Leo moon?
Yeah.
Could it be, and then Scorpio rising?
Mm-hmm.
If you had to bet money, Heather, which part of her chart do you think made her like mean, or the authority hungry? Like,
I
is
think
that
it's all
Virgo?
three together. I don't think
Like just kind of
alone.
just created sort of a monster.
Yeah, I think it's all three together and the context of the situation that she was
Yeah, the way it
like,
manifested in her chart specifically.
yeah, like she was a successful coach and like her dance team was always winning in these
Right.
competitions, but she was in Pennsylvania. She was just like a, normal dance
Right.
coach to children. And then with the fame, I think it just all took on a new crazy form.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Scorpio rising's a stinger and Virgo's very can be a little blunt and black and white and perfectionistic, and the Leo moon can be a little reactive and
Interesting.
egocentric. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Oh, God bless her.
I know.
Where's she now?
So now she's still coaching. She came back. She her original show got canceled, or it was like she went to prison and
Right. For the tax
this
evasion?
is such a theme with so many reality stars. It's like they go to prison, they can't do the show for a few years, and then they come back
Is
after
it
prison
always
and
like
they're
tax
like kind of
evasion?
usually. Although in the housewives world, it's way crazier. It's like Jen Shaw committing fraud, like literally running an empire where she's like stealing money from old people so that she can wear fur coats and have a mansion. And it's just like, I mean, I live for this shit. But
I know. Thank God you're here to truly show. Yeah, you're opening my eyes to worlds I didn't know existed. Go on,
so
go
crazy.
on. It is.
People are like Scandival. Oh my God. I'm like, Erica Jane's husband was stealing money from plane crash victims while she sings about being rich and is trying to be a 45-year-old pop star. It's like, so. But anyway, yeah, poor Abby Lee Miller. I think that she, and the craziest thing, I know I'm not really talking about her astrology that much, but like it all paints a picture. It's like also crazy that she, like every time I've shown the show to people, they're like, she's a dance teacher and she's just like spouting out choreography at them. She has never once like gotten up and like she's maybe done like a Shanae turn once, but she's always like, okay, we're gonna learn this number. Here are the steps. You're gonna do pas de bourrée. You're gonna do this, blah, blah, blah. And now that she's in a wheelchair, she like really just like barks at them, and it's kind of like ridiculous. But
That's right. You never see her dance.
she never dances. She literally just like sits there and yells at them. But she is really good at what she does. I have to give her credit. Like her dances, I mean, when she competes on the show, like it's clear that a lot of the dances just aren't as story specific as hers. She's really good at what she does. I mean, she really is artistic,
She's
comes
got, like,
up with good
visual eye.
ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah. Very competitive. But no, okay, now she's doing, I think she's still, or no, maybe she doesn't have her show now. She's doing a lot of like just TikToks, and also I think she runs a studio out here and still coaches. But I think the show came back after she came back from prison, but it like didn't have the same ratings and the same spark to it. And I don't think it exists anymore, unfortunately, but her studio does.
Interesting. God, that's just so fascinating. I
It
truly had
really
no idea all
is.
this had happened.
No, it really is. Like, I recommend watching those seasons where she is cracking and like falling from grace. It is insane. And then the moms are all talking about it too. They're like, Abby's not good. Like, is she going to prison? Like, is this even going to continue? Like, what's the deal? Is she going to show up today? Like, insane. Yeah. But Virgos, they have to, if they don't take authority for their health and for their rituals and really take that shit seriously, it's going to manifest in the worst fucking way. Just like on Sims, on Sims 1, when I used to play and I would make a Virgo sim back when Sims still had astrology, I used to joke, I would be like, Mom, why do all the Virgo Sims die out of messiness? It was like the house got like a little messy and they wouldn't be able to like clean it because they were too depressed that it was messy, and then they would die out of depression. And that to
That's
me
so
like stuck
funny.
out to me as a child. And I'm like, wow, that's the Virgo symbolism.
That's so funny. You would think Sims would bring it back. That's
Yeah,
fascinating. I never
I
knew
know.
Sims had astrology.
Yeah,
Ah,
they got rid of it. It's so annoying,
they're
but
gonna bring it back.
they should.
It's
I
gonna
mean,
like
it's
charge extra for it or something.
yeah, right.
Ah, what a fabulous couple of juicy V's we had, Heather. Abby, come on the show. Yeah, bitchy
Crazy.
broad.
Yeah.
You crazy son of a bitch. Get on the show. No,
Oh,
these two just could not be more Virgo in their right. And it's really,
yeah.
yeah, like what you said about the competitive energy too, Heather. And
Mm-hmm.
again, that to me is such a quantifying something, competing. That there's like the comparison involves such a, to me, a masculine energy. And both of those signs
Yeah,
carry the
yeah.
masculine
With the
in
fire
their own
moons
right.
that they both have
Yep.
too.
You really see the masculine energy more with that, I
Yeah,
think. Just kind
absolutely.
of interesting. And with that, Heather, should we talk about what's going on in the sky? I know we kind of touched on the new moon in Virgo energy, how we're having a
Right.
fresh old restart. We're paying attention to the details, right? And then we're going to be inching our way into Libra. What's
Yeah.
going on? Lord help
Yeah,
us.
we are. And I think the next one is an Aries full moon. Yeah,
Ooh,
interesting. Which
that
is like a
is.
fresh start in its own right.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so Virgo new moon
Especially now with
tonight.
this with the dividing the signs into six, which I'm enjoying doing.
Right,
That's a
right.
extra fresh start time.
Oh
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
totally, totally.
Sorry.
Yeah, so Virgo new moon tonight as we record this on the 14th. And it's connected with Uranus, which is all about like progress and sudden breakthroughs and obviously if it hits a point in your chart, it'll manifest in a deeper way, but
Right.
yeah. Then on the 16th, there's still not a ton happening in September, but on the 16th, Sun in Virgo is going to form a nice harmonious trine to Uranus, which is also, like I said, with the Virgo new moon, it's, progress. That only happens 3 times a year. It's sudden
Hmm.
insights, sudden breakthroughs, things that could lead you into a future direction. Um, September
Nice.
21st, the sun trines Pluto, which also only happens 3 times a year. And Pluto is the energy of transformation, renewal, death and rebirth and power and authority and all those things. And it's in Capricorn, the sun's in Virgo. So these are two earth sign energies connecting. So I don't know, you might experience some sort of minor or significant transformation when it comes to earth things and feeling a new power around your earthy authority. That's September 21st. And then we'll record again before Libra officially starts, but Libra season and the fall equinox is on the 23rd. So
Oh
good
yeah. I'm so
to
excited.
yeah, I am too. Take
A
advantage
fresh
of
new
this Virgo
season.
energy while we still have it for the
Yeah.
rest of the week and then fresh, fresh,
And then it's a
fresh.
literal fresh new season, a fresh new sign, a fresh new moon. No, excuse me, a fresh new full moon.
Full moon, yeah. But in a new
Uh,
Aries, I mean,
and a new Aries like transformative way, followed by a new moon.
yeah, yeah.
No,
And
it's a beautiful
Libra,
time.
yeah, Libra is a cardinal sign. So in that cycle, we are, cardinal is initiatory, fixed is
Oh
follow through,
yeah.
mutable is uh adapting and transitioning into the next thing. So we're with Libra, we're kicking off a new cardinal moment. So it's the
Oh,
energy's initiatory.
thank you for that, Heather. I needed that. Listeners, I hope you did as well. This has been a Virgo ass time, a juicy V time for us all.
I can't.
Um,
Every time you say that, I die.
it's too much.
No, I
Well,
love
it's gonna
it.
have to be the episode title. I mean,
Juicy
please.
V. I bet we're gonna
Lost
get a lot of
Virgo.
listens just from calling it that. Like, oh, that's funny.
uh, but yeah, I just yeah, what a beautiful time to shed the shit that doesn't serve us, y'all, and breathe in the shit that does. We don't have time for anything else. We really don't. And with that, infinite abundance to you all.
Mm-hmm.
I love you so much, Heather.
love you. It's always so
Listeners, it's always just so fun. Listeners, we hope you had a blast. We love you. Yeah, I'm just riding these waves of freshness, y'all.
fun.
I know Heather is as well. And that might be a little rocky, but it's a fresh start nonetheless.
Nonetheless, we are
clean
moving.
slate is upon us.
Yes.
Amen.
Moving it forward.
Jesus, take the wheel. Here we go. I have to stop. I love you, Heather.
Love you.
Love you, listeners. Bye.
Bye.